At the far edge of human space, beyond the busy trade lanes and shining capital worlds, there was a small colony called Haven 12. It did not have tall towers or large fleets guarding its skies. It did not have famous admirals or powerful war heroes. It had farms, mining tunnels, and quiet towns built under a pale blue sun. To the rest of the galaxy, Haven 12 looked small, poor, and unimportant. The great empires rarely even mentioned it. On the bridge of the Zareth flagship, Supreme Commander Varker studied the human star map. His claw tapped once on the glowing image of Haven 12. This one, he said. His officers exchanged looks. Of all human colonies, this was the weakest. No war fleet in orbit. No heavy defense platforms. Only a small orbital station and a few transport ships. A simple victory, one officer said with a low growl. The Zareth Empire needed that victory. Humanity had grown bold in recent years. They had won trade deals. They had survived border fights. Other species were starting to respect them. The Zareth did not like that. So they chose Haven 12 as a message. Their fleet dropped from warp without warning. Massive warships blocked the stars. The sky above Haven 12 darkened as shadows covered the sunlight. Civilians looked up in fear. Farming machines stopped in the fields. Mining alarms echoed deep underground. In the colony command center, Governor Elias stood silently as red warning lights flashed around him. Incoming fleet identified, an operator said. Zareth war signatures confirmed. How many ships? Elias asked calmly. 23 battleships. Support cruisers. Full invasion force. Some officers in the room swallowed nervously. They were not soldiers. They were engineers, technicians, planners. Haven 12 did not look ready for war. A transmission signal forced its way through the system. The alien commander appeared on the main screen. Tall, armored, eyes glowing cold. You are surrounded, Varker announced. Surrender immediately. Resistance will result in total destruction. Silence filled the human command center. Outside, families were being rushed into underground shelters. Parents tried to stay calm for their children. Workers sealed transport tunnels. The orbital station powered up its weak shields. Everything looked hopeless. One young technician whispered, "Sir, we cannot win this." Governor Elias did not answer immediately. He looked at the large digital clock on the central wall. Then he gave a small nod. Begin protocol. The room changed. Fear did not disappear, but something else replaced it. Focus. Deep beneath Haven 12, far below the farms and towns, hidden reactors powered on. Massive energy lines buried during the colony's first construction phase began to glow. What looked like simple mining tunnels were not simple at all. In orbit, the Zareth fleet prepared weapons. Commander Varker smiled. Fire a warning shot, he ordered. A single energy beam struck near the colony's northern fields. The ground exploded, sending smoke into the sky. It was meant to show power. Instead, something unexpected happened. The beam hit the surface and vanished. Not deflected, absorbed. On the Zareth bridge, alarms suddenly blared. Commander, we are detecting energy feedback. Before Varker could respond, the lead Zareth battleship flickered. Its shields collapsed without warning. Lights across the hull went dark. What is happening? Varker roared. Engine power dropped to zero. Weapons offline. Navigation error. The massive ship drifted slowly in space. Across Haven 12, the digital clock continued counting. 1 minute had passed. In the human command center, no one cheered. They watched carefully. Systems updated in real time. Energy levels increased underground. Governor Elias folded his hands behind his back. Phase 1 successful, an engineer said quietly. Up in orbit, a second Zareth cruiser lost power. Then a third. Confusion spread across the alien fleet. They had come to crush the weakest colony. Instead, something unseen was touching their ships. And it had only been 1 minute. On Haven 12, children sat safely in shelters. Farmers waited in silence. Miners stood still in glowing tunnels deep underground. Above them, the greatest empire in the region was beginning to panic. The clock ticked forward. 2 minutes. 5 more to go. On the bridge of the Zareth flagship, Commander Varker felt something he had not felt in years. Uncertainty. 3 of his warships were now drifting in silence. Their engines were dead. Their shields were gone. His officers rushed between stations, trying to restart systems, but every command returned the same result. No response. This is impossible, one officer said. They have no fleet. No visible defense grid. Scan the surface again. Varker roared. Long-range scanners swept across Haven 12. They detected farms, civilian structures, mining facilities, power plants running at normal levels. Nothing looked like a weapon, yet something was pulling power from the Zareth ships. Down in the human command center, Governor Elias stood in front of a large underground schematic. The image showed the entire colony from below. And that was the truth. Haven 12's strength was not above ground. It was beneath it. Years before this day, when Haven 12 was founded, Earth Command made a quiet decision. The galaxy believed humanity built loud fleets and powerful cannons. So humans decided to build something different. Invisible strength. The mining tunnels were designed in perfect geometric patterns. They formed a planetary energy web. Every farm generator, every factory reactor, every transport line connected into a hidden grid. When the Zareth warning shot struck the colony surface, it activated the defense core. The beam was not blocked. It was absorbed, converted, stored. Energy levels rising. An engineer reported calmly. Enemy vessels feeding the grid. Governor Elias nodded once. Good. Maintain balance. Do not overload. Above, another Zareth cruiser went dark. For ships disabled. On the flagship, Varker slammed his fist against the command console. They are hacking us. No signal intrusion detected. His communications officer replied. All systems failing internally. Impossible. But it was not hacking. Haven 12 was using a gravitational resonance field buried deep within its crust. The field could lock onto energy signatures from orbit. It did not destroy ships. It drained them slowly, carefully, cleanly. The Zareth ships were unknowingly powering the colony they tried to destroy. Back in the human command center, the digital clock showed 3 minutes had passed. Governor Elias turned to his staff. Prepare Phase 2. High above the planet, hidden among floating debris fields, small satellites activated. For years they had drifted like useless junk. Rusted metal, broken cargo shells, abandoned equipment. But inside each piece of junk was advanced targeting hardware. Their surfaces split open. Silent laser arrays aligned. The Zareth fleet suddenly detected new objects. Unknown satellites locking on, an officer shouted. Destroy them. Varker commanded. Weapons officers tried to fire, but cannons did not respond. Energy reserves were too low. A thin red beam cut through space. Precise. Focused. It struck the engine core of a Zareth destroyer. Not enough to explode it. Just enough to melt key systems beyond repair. Another beam followed. Then another. Systematic. Controlled. The humans were not fighting with rage. They were performing surgery. For minutes had passed. On Haven 12, people waited in silence inside shelters. Some prayed. Some held hands. But none of them screamed. They trusted the colony's quiet governor. They trusted the hidden design built years ago. On the Zareth flagship, emergency lights flashed red. Half the fleet was now disabled. The remaining ships were losing power rapidly. Commander Varker stared at the planet below. How, he whispered. He had studied human military files. They were aggressive, brave, direct. But this was something else. This was patience. This was preparation. 5 minutes showed on the colony clock. Governor Elias finally spoke again. Send them a message. A communication beam broke through Zareth static. Elias appeared on their main screen. His voice was calm. You chose the wrong colony. Behind him, no soldiers stood. No weapons were visible. Only engineers watching monitors. Varker felt a chill run through him. They had attacked what they believed was Earth's weakest world. But weakness had been an illusion. The clock ticked forward. 6 minutes. 1 minute remained. 6 minutes. The number glowed on the wall inside Haven 12's command center. No one spoke loudly. No one celebrated. Every engineer watched their screens with steady eyes. Energy levels were stable. Orbital control remained firm. The trap was closing exactly as designed. Governor Elias kept his hands behind his back. Status, he asked quietly. 17 enemy ships disabled. A technician replied. The rest are operating at less than 30% power. Any signs of self-destruct? Negative. Their command signals are failing. Above the planet, the Zareth flagship trembled as emergency power struggled to hold systems together. Commander Varker stared at the tactical display. Red icons blinked everywhere. Ships that had once formed a proud invasion line were now drifting metal. He had never experienced this. There was no massive explosion, no dramatic counterattack, just control slipping away. Attempt manual override, he ordered. Engineers tried direct physical activation of systems. They rerouted power lines. They bypassed damaged circuits. For a moment, one cruiser's engines sparked back to life. Cheers erupted on that ship's bridge. Then the engines died again. A low vibration passed through the hull. Something unseen was holding them in place. On Haven 12, Phase 3 activated. Deep underground, the colony's core reactor shifted output. The gravitational resonance field strengthened. It was not draining now. It was locking. Each Xerath vessel found its navigation systems rewriting themselves. Star charts scrambled. Coordinates looped. Escape vectors vanished. They were not just powerless. They were lost. Commander Varker felt sweat form under his armor. Pull the fleet back manually. Use thrusters only. But without guidance systems, coordinated movement was impossible. One destroyer tried to turn and collided gently with another drifting ship. Not a violent crash, just another symbol of failure. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. In the shelters below, civilians felt a faint hum through the ground. It was not frightening. It was steady, like a heartbeat. Parents looked at each other with quiet understanding. The colony had prepared for this day. Back in orbit, hidden satellites shifted position again. This time, they did not fire. They projected. A wide signal pulse expanded from Haven 12. It passed through every Xerath ship at light speed. Inside alien command systems, weapon authorization codes erased themselves. Targeting libraries wiped clean. Ship-to-ship communication keys corrupted. The fleet was blind, deaf, and unarmed. Commander Varker's main screen flickered. Governor Elias appeared once more. You came for an easy victory, Elias said calmly. You believed strength is loud. Varker said nothing. Elias continued. Human strength is quiet. It waits. The Xerath commander realized something terrible. This colony had allowed them to fire first. It had needed that first shot. The warning beam they fired at the farms had given Haven 12 the exact energy signature required to lock onto the fleet. The colony had been waiting for aggression. It had baited them. 6 minutes and 50 seconds. On the human clock, the final countdown began. 10 seconds. In orbit, a soft blue wave expanded from the planet's surface. It moved slowly, beautifully, like light through water. When it touched the Xerath ships, every remaining system shut down completely. Not violently, not explosively, just silence. 7 minutes. Across space, 23 Xerath warships floated powerless above a colony they had mocked. Inside the alien flagship, emergency life support flickered to minimum. Commander Varker looked at his officers. Fear filled their eyes now. Not fear of death. Fear of understanding. They had not been defeated by a fleet. They had been defeated by planning measured in decades. By engineers instead of generals. By a colony no one feared. On Haven 12, the underground core slowly powered down. The resonance field faded. Satellites returned to their disguise as debris. The planet looked weak again. Governor Elias gave one final command. Restore limited power to their life support systems. They will survive. An officer looked surprised. We are not finishing them. Elias shook his head. No. The lesson is stronger this way. Above, emergency power returned to the Xerath flagship, just enough for communications. A surrender request transmitted. 7 minutes had changed everything, and the galaxy had been watching. The moment the Xerath surrender signal reached Haven 12, the entire command center stayed silent. No cheers. No relief. Governor Elias studied the transmission carefully. The alien fleet was requesting emergency support and negotiation terms. Their once proud warships were now powerless shapes floating in orbit. Confirm minimal life support stabilization, Elias ordered. Yes, sir. Systems restored to survival levels only. Above the planet, faint lights returned inside the Xerath ships. Air systems restarted. Temperature controls stabilized. But engines remained dead. Weapons remained erased. Commander Varker stood in darkness lit only by emergency strips along the floor. His pride hurt more than his damaged fleet. He opened a direct channel to Haven 12. Governor Elias appeared again on the screen. You have us at your mercy, Varker admitted. The words felt heavy. State your demands. Elias did not smile. We demand nothing. he said calmly. The alien officers exchanged confused looks. You attacked without warning, Elias continued. You believed we were weak. Consider this your warning. Barker narrowed his eyes. You could destroy us. Yes, Elias answered simply. But that would teach nothing. On Haven 12, reports were already being transmitted across human space. Other colonies were watching the battle data in real time. Earth Command observed quietly from a secure channel. The plan had worked perfectly. Haven 12 was never meant to look strong. It was meant to look tempting. For years, human intelligence predicted that one empire would try to strike what seemed like an easy target. So they prepared one colony as proof. Proof that humanity's weakness was often camouflage. In orbit, the Xerath ships began slowly regaining limited control under human supervision. Not enough to fight, just enough to listen. Governor Elias sent them full battle recordings. Every step, every system override, every calculation. He wanted them to understand. This colony was designed 20 years ago, Elias explained. Every farm, every tunnel, every satellite, all connected. Commander Varker felt cold. You built a world as a weapon. Elias shook his head. We built a world that can defend itself. On the surface of Haven 12, civilians slowly exited shelters. Smoke from the warning shot still rose from the distant field, but damage was minimal. Emergency drones were already repairing the crater. Children looked up at the silent alien fleet above. Did we win? One asked her mother. Her mother nodded softly. Yes. But there were no parades. No loud celebrations. Life began returning to normal within hours. That was part of the message too. Humans did not need glory. They needed security. In space, the Xerath commander made a decision. He transmitted a fleet-wide order. All vessels stand down. Full compliance. For the first time in his career, Varker felt respect for an enemy. No, not enemy. A power. 7 minutes had ended an invasion. But something larger had begun. Across the galaxy, other empires analyzed the data leaks already spreading through trade networks. They saw how a weak colony disabled a full invasion fleet without firing a single traditional weapon. They began asking dangerous questions. How many other colonies were like Haven 12? How many quiet farming worlds were hiding unseen defenses? Back in the Haven 12 command center, the digital clock reset to 0. Governor Elias finally allowed himself a slow breath. Prepare diplomatic channel, he said. We will escort their fleet out once systems are stable. One officer hesitated. Sir, what if they return? Elias looked at the orbiting ships. They will not. Above the planet, Commander Varker stared at Haven 12 one last time before issuing retreat preparations. He now understood something critical. The colony they chose because no one feared it was the reason no one should ever underestimate humanity again. The lesson was not written in destruction. It was written in control. 7 minutes. That was all it took to change the balance of power. And the galaxy would never forget it. The Xerath fleet left Haven 12 slowly. Human guidance systems calculated safe exit paths and transmitted them directly into alien navigation cores. The once proud warships moved carefully, like wounded giants being escorted away from a battlefield they did not understand. Commander Varker stood in silence as his flagship entered warp. He did not feel anger anymore. He felt clarity. 7 minutes had destroyed more than his fleet's pride. It had destroyed an illusion. Across the galaxy, data from the battle spread faster than official reports. Trade ships carried recordings. Independent networks replayed the moment when the Xerath battleships went dark. Analysts paused the footage again and again, trying to find the hidden weapon. They found none. No supercannon. No massive explosion. Only a colony that had prepared quietly for decades. On Haven 12, life returned to routine within a single day. Farmers repaired damaged soil where the warning beam had struck. Mining crews resumed work below ground. Children returned to school lessons as if nothing historic had happened. But something had changed in the air. Not fear. Not pride. Awareness. Governor Elias stood alone on a balcony overlooking the fields at sunset. The sky was calm again. No warships blocked the light now. An encrypted channel opened behind him. Earth Command. Report, a calm voice said. Invasion neutralized in 7 minutes, Elias replied. Minimal surface damage. No civilian casualties. Reaction across the galaxy? Strong. Monitoring indicates hesitation among several empires. There was a pause. The objective was deterrence. The voice continued. Has it been achieved? Elias watched a transport shuttle pass peacefully overhead. Yes, he said quietly. They will think twice now. And that had always been the goal. Haven 12 was never built to win glory. It was built to send a message. Human colonies on the outer rim were often called weak because they lacked fleets. But humanity had learned something early in its expansion. Large fleets create fear. Prepared worlds create stability. Strength that is hidden forces enemies to hesitate. Days later, the Zareth Empire formally requested diplomatic talks. Their message was respectful, careful, nothing like the arrogance that arrived before the invasion. Commander Varker himself signed the treaty proposal. He included one line in his private report to his emperor. Human weakness is a strategic illusion. Other empires read similar conclusions. Planned invasions were quietly canceled. Border patrol routes shifted. Intelligence agencies began studying human infrastructure more closely. But the more they studied, the more uncertain they became. How many Haven 12s existed? Was every quiet colony part of a larger design? Back on Haven 12, the underground core that powered the defense system rested in complete silence. Its energy banks recharged slowly, unnoticed by civilians above. It would not activate again unless needed. That was another part of human strength. Control. Governor Elias visited the site of the impact crater one final time. Repair drones had almost finished smoothing the land. Soon, crops would grow there again. An engineer approached him. "Do you think they will ever test us again?" the engineer asked. Elias looked at the peaceful horizon. "Someone always will," he said. "But next time, they will remember." Above them, space looked empty. But it no longer looked vulnerable. The story of Haven 12 became a quiet legend. Not exaggerated. Not glorified. Just remembered. The colony no one feared had shown the galaxy a simple truth. Humanity does not need to look strong. It needs to be ready. 7 minutes was all it took. And now, whenever an empire searched the human star map for an easy target, they paused when they saw small, quiet worlds on the edge of space. Because they could no longer tell the difference between weakness and a warning.